Would like now to hear from our panel of reactors, starting from Miss Ara Chong. Isa siyang youth leader representing many organizations to include Beyond the Wall and the Philippine Youth Engagement Network. Over to you, Ara.
Good day, everyone. I am Arabella Chong, a senior high school student of Chiang Kai-shek College in STEM Bio. I'm the student council president of the said school, and I'm currently the deputy director for communications department of the Liberal Youth of the Philippines. Before diving into my main points, I would first like to thank FNF Philippines for giving me this opportunity, and of course to our speakers, Attorney Tom, Attorney Mike, and Commissioner Louis, who helped me have a further understanding with regards to the current stance of anti-terror law. I would like to start with a quote-unquote, the Philippines remains committed to the protection of civil and political liberties as well as human rights. These words were included in the letter sent by the Philippine Foreign Affairs Department to the US Congress when questioned about the anti-terror law. This law is for protection, right? So why are the Filipinos scared of protection or of anti-terror law? Why are people scared of a law that is supposed to protect them? Simply because they know that this law is being done for other purposes. This law is going to be used for prosecution against those who are not in favor of the current administration, which violates the basics of human rights. What's funny is, instead of prioritizing the current situation of our country, the ongoing pandemic, the government chose to push through with anti-terror law. In fact, giving this twice notice than COVID-19. How can this bill pass as a law when the contents of this bill is unconstitutional as it gets? As what Attorney Tom mentioned, a prison detainment without judicial warrant for 10 to 24 days and unauthorized surveillance for the suspected terrorist. I just want to share a conversation I had with one of my friends. She asked me, why am I so affected by this when I'm not a terrorist? My answer was, as a youth, it is our duty to fight for what is right, to stand up for injustices, and this anti-terror law is hindering us from doing this because apparently the basis of being a terrorist lies in the hands of those people who are going to make this inhumane law possible. In simpler terms, the government can red tag anyone that criticizes the administration. Where did the freedom of speech go? As a member of the liberal youth, I advocate for a society that is free from poverty, free from fear, and free to dream. And these freedom are unfortunately taken away from these people, and they are disregarded when the anti-terror law is going to be imposed. In fact, these are already being taken from them. As I'm speaking right now, I'm scared of what might happen to me. And the truth is, why should I be scared when I know that I'm fighting for justice and fairness? As fellow youth, I'm telling you that it is very, very important to register to vote. It is your time to be heard on what are your principles and visions for the country. Your vote matters. Just think of the consequences when it is already too late. Tayo ang pag-asa ng bayan. Matutong tumayo at paglingkuran ito. Before I end, I would like to ask the speakers these following questions. First, magkakaroon pa po ba ng revision sa anti-terror law, lalo na sa pagbabansag ng terorista sa isang mamamayan? Second, why was ATL certified as urgent while the travel ban for COVID-19 was not branded as a need or a must? Lastly, to Commissioner Louis, ang COMELEC po ba ay may ginagawa ng alternative sa pagrerehistro, lalo na't di pinapayagan lumabas ang karamihan sa mga kabataan? Thank you.
Ayan, maraming salamat din kay Ara. Of course, we'd like to thank Ara for her courage for speaking out. And she did voice out a number of valid concerns. And we've heard this a number of times. Bakit ka nga ba matatakot kung hindi ka na naman terorista? And Ara also answered that in the same breath when she said, possibly, bakit naman ako hindi matatakot kung I myself, government can tag anyone as terrorist under the law? And of course, these are questions that are left unanswered and still we need to explore. I'll bring up Ara's questions later on, but for now, I'd like you to turn you over to another noted reporter from Rappler. Let's now all welcome Ms. Lian Buan.
Thank you, Mark. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Yung i-cover ko sa reaction ko is how the anti-terror law has so far affected yung freedom of the press, which is yung trabaho ko, at by extension kung paano niya naapektuhan yung collective free speech nating lahat. And marami ng background na nabigay sa inyo yung colleague ko, si Mike, for the topics I'm about to discuss now. Nabanggit niya kanina na may nag-petition for intervention ng mga AITA. Sila yung unang-unang nakasuhan sa anti-terror law. At nung unang araw ng oral arguments, sila ay naghain ng petition for intervention. Parang sinasabi na sa Korte Suprema na kami yung actual case kasi kami nakasuhan. At bilang mga justice reporters, syempre sinulat namin yung istorya ngayon. At nagbase kami sa pleading sa Korte Suprema na nagdidetalye ng umano'y torture na dinanas ng mga AITA sa kamay ng mga militar. At dahil sa pagsusulat nito, ang isa naming beatmate, yung colleague namin, si Tech Torres Tupas, isang veteran justice reporter ng Inquirer, pinaringgan ni General Antonio Parlade na may habit na mga red tag ng kung sino man ang makikitaan niya the slightest and faintest association to the left. Nag-Facebook post siya na sinasabihan niya na fake yung report ni Ate Tech at sinasabihan niya yung propaganda ng mga komunista yung report ni Ate Tech kahit base naman ito sa pleading sa Supreme Court. Ang pinaka nakaka-alarma dun sa ginawa ni General Parlade, may isa kasing nag-comment na pwede ba natin siyang kasuhan? Tapos nag-reply si General Parlade na helping or aiding the terrorists by spreading lies, pwede. Nakaka-alarma yun kasi dito sa ilalim ng anti-terror law, krimen na ang providing material support to terrorists. So he effectively implied that our colleague is liable or is vulnerable at least to prosecution under this provision sa anti-terror law. At nakakatakot yun because ang penalty nun ay pwedeng umabot sa life imprisonment. Kaya napilitan kami sa press corps na maglabas ng strong statement na kinokondena yung ginawa ni General Parlade because it does not only affect Ate Tech, it affects all of us kasi lahat kami ay sumulat ng storyang yun at lahat kami ay susulat at magpapatuloy na sumulat ng istoryang yun. Kung sinundan nyo yung development sa Supreme Court, the next week, binasura naman ng Supreme Court yung petition for intervention ng mga AITA. Sabi kasi nila, meron na kasing pending case sa Olongapo Regional Trial Court. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Nagkaroon ako ng pagkakataon na makuha yung expertise na dating IBP National President Attorney Abiel Dan Fajardo. Ang pagkaka-explain niya sa akin, which I will relate to you, ay kapag dahil sa ginawa ng Supreme Court na hindi nila pinayagang mag-intervene ang mga actual case dahil meron ng pending case sa RTC, parang magkakaroon ng scenario na lahat ng mga actual cases, mag-uunahan na lang silang makarating sa Supreme Court. Anong ibig sabihin nito? So, kunyari na-convict yung mga AITA, pwede silang pumunta sa Court of Appeals, pwede silang umakyat sa Supreme Court. Kapag meron pang ibang na-charge, pwede rin nilang gawin to. So mag-uunahan yung mga actual cases na makarating sa Supreme Court. It's a very interesting discussion in constitutional litigation kasi iba-iba yung mode or iba-iba yung paraan para makarating ka sa Supreme Court. Pero it poses a dim outlook kasi parang ang implication niya, kailangan pa bang may mga makasuhan para lang masabi natin sa Korte Suprema na I'm an actual case, I have legal standing, and therefore, kailangan yung i-take cognizance tong kasong to. So it poses a dim outlook. And meanwhile, yung mga AITA ay facing indefinite time in prison. But regardless if General Parlade makes good on his threat to prosecute or even just sue our colleague, nakakatakot pa rin, nakaka-alarma pa rin siya because meron ng chilling effect. Kagaya nga ng nabanggit ni Mike kanina, pinag-usapan very extensively ang chilling effect sa oral arguments at sinabi nga ni Professor John Molo ng UP na hindi naman ibig sabihin na kapag may chilling effect, hihinto ka na. Hindi naman ibig sabihin you will stop. It just means you will hesitate. It's the hesitation on your mind and it's the pause that you take. So kahit pa sabihin natin, brave people will always be brave. They will never be silenced. Pero ibang klase yung may hesitation at yung magkaroon ng hesitation, dapat yun yung sitwasyon na sana hindi nangyayari if we were to uphold the vibrance of our democracy. So parang related din siya sa prior restraint, yung tipong hindi mo pa ginagawa, binabawalan ka ng gawin. Hindi mo pa sinasabi, binabawalan ka ng sabihin. At prior restraint ay pinagbabawal ng Constitution, but they are legally different pero related. At bilang pagtatapos sa reaction ko, it's another related topic, gag order. So nabanggit nga kanina ni Attorney Tom Ata or Mark, if I'm not mistaken, the petitioners and the counsels of the petitioners couldn't be here today with us kasi may warning ang punong mahistrado na sana wag nang i-discuss in public ang anti-terror law. It was not a concrete gag order, pero bilang mga abogado, they're taking it as a gag order. At this is pursuant to the sub judice rule ng korte na kapag pending na yung kaso, wag na nating ilites kumbaga sa publiko. It gets tricky kasi maraming petitioner ay mga mamamahayag. Actually, meron nga isang petitioner group na puro mamamahayag lang at merong mga petitioner group na merong mga kasaling mamamahayag doon. So, can you actually gag the press? Yun bang mga kasali sa mga petitioner group na yun ay bawal nang magsalita tungkol sa anti-terror law? Parang mahirap naman ata yun kasi paano gagawin ng mga mamamahayag ang trabaho nilang i-explain ng anti-terror law kung magpapag-gag sila sa Korte Suprema. At my Facebook memories reminded me that today is a 1-year anniversary of when Solicitor General Jose Calida wanted a gag order in the ABS-CBN co-warranto case. At sobrang confusing yun para sa amin kasi yung request niya, it seemed to cover all. Parang hindi mo pwedeng i-discuss ang kaso, dapat i-gag mo rin ang mga party. Sino igagag mo? Ang mga artista ba ng ABS-CBN? Ang mga reporter ba ng ABS-CBN? Ang mga reporter ba na nagko-cover ng kaso? So parang para sa amin, paano nito maaapektuhan? Paano nito malilimitahan yung coverage namin? Fortunately, the Supreme Court never got to act on that gag order, and they eventually dismissed the co-warranto petition for being moot. Pero nakikita lang din natin doon na when it comes to free speech and freedom of the press, maraming tricky areas. And I think that highlights the amount of care and the very high standard that the Constitution gives free speech. At free speech naman talaga ang isa sa mga nangingibabaw na tema ng oral arguments. At babalik ko ulit sa facial challenge na diniscuss ni Mike kanina. Kapag ang isang batas ay directly infringing on your freedom of speech, generally dapat pwede na yan sa facial challenge. Makukumbinsi ba yung mga maestrado? Hindi pa natin alam. So yun yung mga dinidiscuss sa oral arguments, and that is how this law has affected freedom of the press so far, and by extension, our collective free speech.